All right, good morning. It is 9 o'clock, Monday, May the 21st. This is the quarterly meeting of the Tennessee Auctioneer Commission. We'll call the meeting to order. First item of business is a roll call. Glenn?
Jeff Morris.
Here.
Randy Lowe.
Here.
John Thorpe.
Here.
Ronnie Collier.
Here.
Adam Douglas Lewis. All right. Looks like we have quorum, Chair.
Thanks, sir. Notice of meeting.
Yes, notice of the May 21st, 2018 meeting of the Auctioneer Commission was posted to the Auctioneer Commission website on May 10th, 2018.
And the agenda, anybody got any changes or anything? And a motion we approve the agenda for the day?
So approved. So moved.
Commissioner Morris moves to approve the agenda.
Second.
Commissioner Collier seconds. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Minutes. Everybody had a chance to look over them?
Yes, Your Chairman, and I move that we accept the minutes from the last meeting.
Collier, Morris moves we approve the minutes. Commissioner Collier seconds. Any discussion on the minutes? All in favor of approval say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Education request.
Look on your iPad there. There's only two education requests. There's a Nashville Auction School and the Tennessee Auctioneer Association. Both 3 and 4 would be the two courses that you'll be looking at for consideration.
First one is the Public Relations Professionalism and Personal Presentation. And it's an online course.
That's correct.
Online only. They won't be teaching this in person with instructors.
That's correct. That's how they presented it to us.
On the reputation of the Nashville Auction School and how they assess the needs of students as they go through their organization and teaching auctioneers, they probably know what they're doing and see a need for these subjects to be taught. And I would make the motion that we approve this course.
Commissioner Morris moves we approve the Nashville Auction School course. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Lowe. Any further discussion? All in favor of approval say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Let the record show all members vote in favor of that motion. Next one is the TAA course. Any discussion on it?
Well, if we can find a thing. Summer convention.
That's correct.
Don Day and Robert. Glad they got it in time to get it approved for the for the June session. I move that we approve this course.
Morris moves we approve.
Second.
Commissioner Lowe seconds. I do have a question. The 3 hours, is that for both instructors or is that 3 hours each?
Those are the various instructors. The course itself is 3 hours.
Okay. Both of them are going to be instructing on the same thing. Okay.
I thought they generally.
That's why I was
They
asking.
have another one that they've already approved they're going to do.
Right. Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor of approval of the course say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Budget report.
Yeah. If you open up the budget there, that would be number 5. There'll be 2 pages there. There's always we put the trending up front typically so you can kind of get a snapshot, and then you can get the itemized statement behind that. If you'll take a look, we'll look at the last month and we'll also look at the overall picture as well. The last month that we have on record of this fiscal year was February, and as far as the revenues, we have a grand total of 14,370. And then the expenses, we have a 14,857. Now you see we're in the red there. We know we were in the red in December because of the contract with Nashville Auction School, and I've highlighted the reason why we dipped below why we dipped below the surplus into a deficit just for this month. Do the legal cost backs. Now, you know, we're preparing for 2 formals. Those were continued, but nonetheless, the work that goes in there by the billable hour, you can imagine there's going to be some expenses associated with that. Also, just the legal report itself over the last couple months has been pretty extensive, so all the work that goes into that would account for that. So that only will vary based on, you know, volume of complaints that are referred to legal.
So the $7,600 is kind of out of the norm, but you said a lot of that was for these 2 hearings that we've got
It
coming
was.
up. Okay.
No, that's just
Informational.
for your information, just for
Yeah.
you to look at and answer any question you may have. The second sheet, obviously, you've seen that before. That's your the stuff that feeds into that trend. Your snapshot of overall expenses, fiscal year, and kind of where we're at in comparison to that.
Third-party professional administrative services is a big jump there. I don't know if that's...
Oh, yeah, I do recall that. That was we had that discussion with our accounting director at the time, and that was how they allocated the contract with Nashville Auction School. So that's why you see the jump there. It's not really a jump; it's just how it's allocated. Move from one line to another. That's what that's accounted for.
Are our members, or the number of licensees staying pretty steady? Is it?
We haven't, unlike some of our other boards who are taking advantage of certain exemptions, this one isn't the case. We haven't seen like a dramatic dip in life. One thing I would like to discuss, if you recall last meeting, I'm sure you do, we discussed the sunset hearing and how we wanted to look at potentially a reduction in reserves as a possibility. All the boards have been doing that. We want to be self-sustaining, but at the same time too, we're not in the habit of building reserves. And so our accounting director was going to be here today. However, he took another position and within Commerce and Insurance. So he's just, I think, up a few more floors above us. But he's working for fire prevention now and no longer with regulatory boards. But I picked his brain the best I could to see what, trying to anticipate, what you may require or ask of him to see where we're going and where we would be. And his comments were this, and I put some notes here because I don't want to miss anything, the nuance of that. But he said there isn't a policy that triggers the discussion for reserve reductions. It's not like there's this magical threshold, because they understand all the boards are different and have different needs. I mean, some have an education recovery fund, some don't. Some have a renewal cycle every 2 years, some don't. So they can't just put them all in one sort of a template. They have to look at each one and then plus, sometimes $400,000 in one board may be a huge reserve, but may be nothing for another board. They may be near insolvency, So that's one of those things we have to look at case by case basis. But as it refers to auctioneers, he said there was nothing there that they felt like that there was going to require immediate action. They like to look at it based on a 2-year cycle, and that's how the legislators do it as well. So they're always eliciting some sort of response from the legislation, and then educating them along the way to those nuances, because they understand when it comes to budgets, it's not clean cut. Obviously, you have to speak to the needs of each individual board, but they don't have anything from the legislators that tells them that they need to do anything right now as far as fee reductions or cutting into what any potential excess in revenue. So they're going to continue to watch it. And then have that conversation. Now, some folks in the past have thought that a 2-year reserve was important, but they didn't feel like that was necessary. Just because if you're depending on licensees alone, then you're not, I think, accounting for the other factors that would feed into the budget. So of course, we watch those because that's important. That's where the lion's share of your revenue comes from. But right now, there's nothing on the horizon for as far as cuts or any movement in the budget.
You know when the last time there was a claim against that fund?
My knowledge, there's only been one, and I don't know when that one was. I mean, I know the Real Estate Commission is looking into talking to legislators next session and making the requirements to get into the fund easier, because it is quite complicated to get into that fund. So it might be something that the auctioneers want to look at as well.
Even New York lawyers couldn't get into that fund. I mean, it just begs the question. We're still feeding this fund that nobody can get into, or even though it's out there. So I don't know. I just think we need to keep an eye on it.
That's a need that is specific to the auctioneers, and I think real estate appraisers. Well, there's another one that has the A&E. That's the one I was thinking of, but has the Education Recovery Fund, and so you're right. That is something, and that's why with the newsletter, at first we don't. That's atypical. We don't typically do newsletters with other boards, but with this board, we're like, okay, let's go ahead and do the newsletter because we do have the Education Recovery Fund. We want to make sure we can get into that and diminish that the best we can.
Right. Okay.
That will be the variable we'll have to watch. You're right.
Anything else on the budget?
That's all I have on the budget. Unless there's any other questions, if we can move on to the next item on the director's report, which the next couple items will require action. Of course, the budget report was just informational. If we may, the NAA conference, as you know, is coming up. That'll be in July the 17th to 21st, and we'll have to decide on any representation at that, and then who.
Typically, I go each year, and I would like to be the one to go since I'm also still president of NOLA, which is the National Association of Licensed Law Officials of America. And so we have our meeting at the NAA conference and show. So if nobody else would like to go, I would like to put my name in the hat.
And we can do two as well. So if there's somebody else that has expressed some interest and would like to go, that would be fine.
I'll make a motion to send Jeff. Let Jeff do it.
Is there any
Collier has nominated Jeff.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor of Jeff, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations, Jeff.
Always helps.
Now, for the next item, the CE audit. We've done this with several other boards as well, and like A&E, land surveyor, court reporters, we've moved to do a random continuing education audit of about 5 to 10%, depending where they want to go on that. Much like the IRS, you submit your CE, all of it, at the time of your renewal, but then we don't go in there and do a 100% audit and look at every single course. However, we run a randomized audit. We do a mathematical equation that will capture 5 to 10%, whatever the board decides, if they decide to go that route, and then we look at that and evaluate their continuing education. If they're deficient, then we send them a letter, letting them know, give them an opportunity, just like the IRS would be. You're getting audited. Do you have this information, these records? We're missing some CE. And if they are, and if they can't produce that CE, then they make their way to the disciplinary report. We open up a complaint and then move forward through those channels.
Y'all don't track continuing education for every licensee?
We do right now, yes.
Okay.
But we're saying we'd like to move to an audit where we could where they have to submit it. They can't move beyond that application until they submit it. When they go online, they have to attach something. Now, if they attach a picture of themselves walking their dog, that's problematic. After the fact, we go and we do an audit on them. So, but that depends on how much you want to do. So, with some of our other boards, we've done 5%. We had, I think, maybe A&E did. No, they're 5%. I think some of the other boards did 10%. But we can run that audit, and then we present those to the board. That this is the audit we did this quarter, and these are the folks these folks were compliant, and provide that data at that time. That would make its way to the agenda as a part of agenda item.
Have you run a test on that? Whether 5 or 10 makes a difference?
Not particularly, because the reason why is because we offer the 10%. It's because sometimes this makes folks feel better. But the 5%, the thing is this, we're not going to audit the same folks over and over and over again, because there's one way that you can do that in the mathematical equation, so you're not hitting the same folks again. However, you can, unless you get comfortable, it could happen within, back to back. But they can work the audit in such a way where it's not, the same person isn't getting audited over and over and over again.
It's random, is it not?
It is random. It's basically we export the data into Excel spreadsheet, select randomized, basically randomized. It appoints a number that's constantly changing. We freeze it, and then we select the top 10 or whatever, and then it pulls that out. So it's absolutely randomized. That we don't make any selections input to that process at all. We run it strictly a Excel spreadsheet mathematical equation, which is changing periodically. Right. And we do keep a record of those that will audit, so we're not hitting the same person over and over and over again if they keep getting randomized.
Reason to consider to go on this method is what?
I think it's twofold. One, we feel like it's still putting in the controls because, and there's precedent. A lot of we have accountants that are doing it as well. IRS does that, and but also, so you still have that level of control there with precedent supporting that. But then also for us, for staffing as well, we just think it's a better use of staff. Instead of doing 100% audit on all of our boards, we're kind of moving our boards in that direction. And also we've got there's precedent from other states that do that as well. So that's another reason we felt comfortable that it was a good enough control mechanism that we weren't going to lose anybody in the process. And because you do have the threat of disciplinary action as well. It's not like, oh, well, we need to maybe, better luck next time, let's get that corrected. No, you will get referred on to legal if you don't have your CE in process.
If we do this, I don't think we should advertise it.
Well, they'd have to hold on to their stuff. It also puts the onus back on the licensee.
Right.
And that's important too. I think sometimes, for a lot of times, it has to start there, because if they say, well, if you enter into a mutual relationship or we're sort of part of that renewal process in the sense that we're responsible for your file, we are in the sense that anything you give to us, we're going to hold on to. We are responsible for that. We can hold on to that. We'll hold on to that. We're going to have it there. Whatever you give us, it's there. But at the same time too, it's not one of those situations too where they can say, oh, well, I sent that and the check is in the mail kind of a thing. No, the responsibility is yours and it wasn't loaded. So it puts the onus back on the licensee.
Looking for action from the board today to approve that?
If the board would like to do that, that's fine. If they want further discussion, that's fine too. Just that would be to the pleasure of the board.
Will the committee?
I have no dog in the hunt, really. I mean, just if something you would like for us to consider to approve, I don't have any problem with it. If it's a cost-cutting move to save money on staff time and that sort of thing, I'm all in favor of that. I just don't want to get to the point where everybody knows that they don't really have to submit their CE and, they're taking the luck of the draw to be audited.
Well, they'll have
it's kind of like paying your taxes right, It's kind of,
they'll have to. They have to submit it on the application. It won't let them. That is one thing that we did work in for example, court reporters.
So it has to be on there for the application to go through electronically. Is that right?
They do. They have to. They have to attach something. Now, again, if it's a picture of them walking their dog, that's a problem.
Right.
But nonetheless, they have to load something before. It won't let you move beyond the application unless you load some documents to.
Well, I don't have any problem with it if you want us to approve something like that.
That'd be the Will Commission. That'd be great. We could, I think, kind of consolidate and standardize that along with the other boards. The only, discussion then is 5 or 10%. That would be up to the.
Right. Well, it doesn't matter. Statistically speaking, it's the same.
Put it in the form of a motion.
Like 5% or 10%?
5%, I would think.
All right.
Commissioner Lowe moves approve with 5%. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Morris. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Legal report.
But kindly said I could go first since I only have one. I'm Robin Ryan. I don't know if y'all remember me.
Robin, how could we not remember you?
Well, thank you for saying that way. And let me just explain that in the very last one on your report, it's number 13. Actually, 13 and 14. 13 is just there because that has to do with number 14. It's a little complicated, but does the commission want me to read the entire thing or just the number or explanation? How would you like to proceed?
Give us a minute to read it.
All right. If you then start with number 14 and then go back and look at number 13, it might
Start
be.
with 14, then read 13?
Yeah.
Okay. After reading this, are you saying that a letter of warning is all you're wanting to do at this point?
Yes, I think that's the most appropriate because this respondent did pay a civil penalty. This was actually the same respondent. The name changed only because the location changed. Nothing went on past that month date in October. I'm going to, by the way, I need to read this in the record. This is 2016-066-901. That's the complaint. Nothing took place. This was all taking place at the same time. That is, it was the same 2-month period. The reason that this information wasn't relayed first time around when you all reviewed it was because we had 2 different sets of attorneys, and the previous matter was not known to that attorney, so it might have presented something different first time around if it had been presented. In any event, as I said, this respondent has paid. There's been nothing since that first 2-month period in September, October 6, 2016.
Currently not doing anything.
Not anything that I could find, and I searched on every name possible.
Okay. I would go along with your recommendation and issue a letter of warning.
Morris moves we concur with council's recommendation. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Collier. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed, nay.
Thank you. I should tell you that I have a hearing set that was being set for today. It's been continued to your November date. However, there is an attorney on the other side, and he and I are attempting to see if we can resolve this matter. I'll let you know. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you in November, if not before. Thank you.
Okay, would you like me to read the full summary for you? For each one?
We can read it if you want us to, or however you would like, whatever you're more
I'm happy to read it
Go
into
ahead,
the
then.
record.
If you like reading, we like
I could
listening.
be pretty quick, I think. Number 1, 2017-076231. Respondent is a fire department, and an anonymous complainant alleges a former firefighter is having auctions up to once a month without a license. Complainant further alleges another individual has been conducting the auctions at respondent's fire department without a license. Complainant also alleges the auctions are advertised on Facebook, but does not specify who is advertising them and provides no proof of the Facebook advertisements. The Centralized Complaint Division reached out to the respondent's fire chief, who stated the former firefighter and or the individual conducting the auctions claimed to have a license when it was decided the auctions could be held at the fire department. Further, the fire chief stated the former firefighter gives 10% of the proceeds from the auction or auctions to the respondent fire department. Counsel has been unable to contact complainant to request further information because complainant did not provide any contact information and wishes to remain anonymous. So counsel sent an investigator out. The investigator met with the fire chief, who originally responded to this complaint on May 5th, 2018, and obtained a sworn affidavit from the fire chief, which stated the former firefighter had an acquaintance who is the individual referenced above who conducted the auction or auctions. And he held a one-time auction at the fire station to help benefit the volunteer efforts and supplement their limited budget. 10% of the proceeds from this auction were given to the respondent fire department. Further, the fire chief states he was informed from the very beginning that the individual conducting the auction was licensed and, quote, everything was above board and legitimate, end quote. Once the fire chief was notified of this complaint, he questioned the former firefighter more closely and found out no one had an auctioneer license, and he immediately put a stop to the plan for future auctions. The fire chief further stated he would not tolerate illegal activities at his fire station and swore in the affidavit this will not happen again. The investigator surveyed the fire hall and found no activities or advertisements displayed anywhere in the vicinity. Additionally, he conducted field interviews at a nearby store asking if auctions had been taking place, and no one was aware of any auctions that had occurred. The next day, the investigator drove to the other businesses in the area and asked random people if they were aware of any auctions that had happened or were scheduled, and no one was aware of any. Once the investigator arrived home, he received a call from the former firefighter referenced above, and the former firefighter stated he was merely a seller and did not run, conduct, or call any auctions. The former firefighter also confirmed what the fire chief stated about the auction being a one-time thing, and that the chief put a stop to it once he was made aware no one had a proper license. Additionally, the former firefighter stated he has a license in Virginia and conducts auctions there. In conclusion, the investigator's opinion is that the fire chief is being cooperative and truthful, and that the one auction did occur, but there is absolutely no evidence that would lead the investigator to believe this will happen again, or that it happened more than once. Therefore, I recommend a letter of instruction be sent to the respondent fire department, and a letter of warning be sent to the former firefighter regarding unlicensed activity per Tennessee Code annotated section 62-19-102. I'd also like to amend that to say I recommend we open a complaint against the individual who supposedly conducted these auctions. I'll do research to find out who that is.
I feel that the one that actually conducted the auction is more at fault than anyone in this situation. I mean, the fire chief, I think, was just acting as letting them use the building to actually do it. So it's the one conducting the auction that's at fault here.
Somebody's lying. I mean, somebody had the auction.
Right.
Surely the fire chief would know, and this other guy, surely somebody knows something. So
I believe the fire chief is being truthful. I think he probably didn't do his due diligence in making sure everybody had a license, or he just trusted the former firefighter. And I think the individual who conducted the auction, who I would like to open a complaint against and send an investigator out to obtain an affidavit from, I think that he absolutely knew what he was doing was against the rules of the Auctioneer Commission. So I would, once I have more information on that, I will most likely be recommending much more severe discipline than these two.
He was licensed in Virginia. He knows Tennessee has the same kind of laws, so he understands what's going on. I agree with your conclusion. Go ahead and send him a letter, and I would make that in the form of a motion, but just kind of watch this guy.
Absolutely.
Motion by Commissioner Morris, second by Commissioner Collier, to concur, and you're going to open up a complaint against the individual. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Number 2,
2017-077031. Complainant alleges he hired respondent in November 2016 to remove and sell items remaining at complainant's home in Georgia from an estate sale he had. Complainant alleges both he and respondent loaded respondent's truck with all items to be sold by respondent. Complainant alleges respondent stated he was in a hurry that evening. He would take inventory of the items removed from the home as soon as he needed to for the auction or auctions. Complainant states he was supposed to receive this inventory detailing all items removed, their disposition, and the amount for which each was sold but never received it. Complainant alleges he knows his items were sold at some point because he states he called and spoke with respondent in March of 2017, and respondent allegedly remembered the auction and the selling price for a specific work of art being $750. At the time this complaint was filed on November 30th, 2017, complainant had still not received the inventory, accounting, or any of the information respondent promised to provide him, and he states he was willing to take legal action at that time. An investigator met with respondent on April 30th, 2018, and obtained 2 sworn affidavits from the respondent. The investigator then met with respondent again on May 10th, 2018 for a follow-up meeting, and the respondent provided copies of his tally sheet and records from the auctions held where complainant's property was sold. Respondent readily admits that he entered into an agreement with complainant to auction his property. He confirms basically everything the complainant said about picking up his things from Georgia, loading them in his truck, and he admits that he sold complainant's property at the auctions. Respondent further states the money made from the auctions, as well as the receipts, had been stolen from respondent's home in December 2016, and respondent has spoken with complainant numerous times about this and tried to explain to complainant the terms of the agreement regarding the cost of hauling, storing, and paying auction commissions. Respondent states complainant has been consistently belligerent and argumentative and does not understand the auction business or why there are costs associated with the selling of complainant's property at auction. Respondent met with complainant very, very recently on May 14th this year and paid complainant $1,284 for all items sold at auction, and there was an itemized list. And that was the complete amount owed to complainant. And then respondent additionally volunteered to pay and did pay complainant an additional $642, which adds up to a 50% interest fee for the delayed payment. Respondent provided the receipts for these payments signed by complainant to the investigator, which I also got. And there was a statement confirming respondent has paid all monies owed to complainant, signed by complainant. In conclusion, the investigator's opinion is that respondent is honest and was forthright in his interview and was very concerned with making this situation right. Respondent also followed through on everything he said he would do once he spoke with the investigator, more quickly than they had even planned. Counsel considers respondent has been licensed for over 31 years with a single letter of warning issued in 2009 for a different violation. Counsel thus recommends issuing a letter of warning citing Tennessee Code Annotated Section 62-19-112B4 for failing to remit or account for money coming into the licensee's possession, since respondent was not able to provide a police report showing the money was stolen, and because it had been over a year since respondent collected the items from complainant for auction.
This is why the commission is here, is for complainants like this. Auctioneers know that you're supposed to remit funds not within months, but within days of selling items. And there has to be a full accounting of inventory. The fact that the dog ate my homework excuse, I don't believe him.
And to not either.
That's it doesn't matter. There has to be some sort of electronic record. There has to be records of everything you bring in. There should be a contract for selling those goods, and there should be a list of the inventory attached to that contract of what you're selling, and there has to be a full accounting. And I don't buy it. I think more than a letter should be sent to this guy, but that's my opinion.
I agree too. I mean, that money should have been put in escrow. It should have never been able to be stolen at the guy's house. It looks like it was about a month between the complaint was filed on November 30th, and then he said it was stolen in December.
Yeah, the auction happened, I believe, in November 2016. He says it was stolen about a month later. and it took quite a long time.
It should have already been accounted for in the escrow account and taken his commission out, paid himself, and then paid his consignor. And that should have been done within a week at the most, or 2 weeks.
Especially from someone that's been in the business 31 years.
Right, exactly. They know that. So I think we ought to issue the guy a $1,000 fine myself, but that's just my opinion.
I agree with that.
You want to make that? I move that we not go along with council's recommendation, but we issue a fine of $1,000 and cite the law showing the part where they're supposed to be having all their money in escrow accounts, and then it should be in accounting. Now, all that's in the laws and the rules and regulations of the Auction Commission. So, show him where he can read that for himself, and issue him a $1,000 fine, or come before this commission and explain why not.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Lowe. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Record show all voted in favor. Number 3.
2017-077411. Complainant is a Tennessee resident who states he bid on and purchased a backhoe from respondent's auction, and respondent is based out of Seattle, Washington. Complainant states respondent rated the item as a 4 on a 1 to 5 scale, with 5 being in the best condition. Complainant alleges the item was worn out, the charging system was bad, and feels it should have been rated a 1 after all of the costly repairs complainant states he has made, estimating upwards of $10,000. Complainant further alleges respondent was hard to contact after the purchase when complainant wanted to discuss the issues he had with the backhoe. 8 days after complainant filed this complaint, he emailed the complaint division stating the issues he mentioned in the complaint have all been resolved to his satisfaction with respondent, and asked to withdraw the complaint. Of course, we always send a response immediately stating that you cannot withdraw complaints, but I always present that information to the commission. Respondent responded to the complaint after complainant asked to withdraw it, and stated a refund of $4,000 was sent to complainant and has cleared their account, and I was provided proof of the check and that it was cleared. Further, respondent states the issues referenced in the complaint have been resolved to complainant's satisfaction. Counsel was not provided with any evidence or documentation to review or to prove whether respondent committed any violations of statutes or rules, and considering the issues complained about have been resolved to complainant's satisfaction and respondent refunded his money promptly, counsel recommends dismissal.
Everybody's happy then, right?
Absolutely.
I'll
At this
make a
point, yes.
motion to accept council's advice.
Here's the only problem with that. He basically committed fraud and got by with it. And, an auctioneer's word is the only thing he's got. If you're on the block and you say, this item is perfect, no chips, and you get it back there in the back and it's cracked or chipped, or if it's a backhoe that's a 4, it's really a 1, those are false misrepresentations, and that's what gives auctioneers a bad name around the country. Is there's one thing to have a little boasting from the block about how great the item is, but you better be stating from fact. And I don't know how we categorize this complaint, or whether there's anything that can be labeled as a violation of the law, but it is. I don't know if we could just send the guy a letter saying, you really need to be careful how you represent your goods, or something like that. I don't know.
This was an online auction as well. I don't know if that makes
Doesn't
any
matter what it
difference.
is. I mean, an auction's an auction, whether you're on the block or whether you put it in the written description. The
rating.
The rating is, and with online auctions, and you got buyers like, I did an auction 2 weeks ago, and the buyer was from Canada, on a plasma cutter. We told him exactly what it was. We took 30 pictures of the item. He couldn't come down to inspect it. And a lot of times these online bidders are in other states and can't go to where the item is to inspect it, to crank it up. A lot of good auctioneers are at least videotaping the operation of the item, so that you can see it run, and whether it runs or where it cranks or whatever and drives. And those are all good things, and that's good for the industry. But as we get into more and more online bidding, And the reputation of the auction industry has got to be, if an auctioneer says it's this, then it needs to be this, not that. So that's just my thought.
I have a motion from Commissioner Collier to accept council's recommendation and dismiss. Is there a second to that?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Lowe. Any further discussion? All in favor of accepting council's recommendation, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Let the record show all and vote in favor of that. Number 4.
2017-080371. Complainant wishes to remain anonymous and alleges respondent is holding auctions at their business location in Tennessee without a gallery or firm license. An investigator was sent out to respondent's business location where complainant alleges the auctions were being held every Saturday night at 6 p.m. On December 23, 2017, the investigator found the location to have a sign posted out front identifying the location with the respondent's business name and saw an additional photo of signage on a window advertising the same name. The investigator observed a man at a podium calling out and accepting bids from the crowds on the auctioned merchandise. The investigator then met respondents' owners who confirmed they did not have a gallery or firm license, but stated they didn't think they needed one because the man conducting the auctions has an active auctioneer license and owns his own auctioneer company with an active gallery license, both active through 2019 and originating in 1992. The investigator's report concludes that the investigation into this matter and the discoveries made indicate the complaint filed accusing the respondent of unlicensed activity appears to be a valid concern, as respondent is in violation of licensing requirements for not properly possessing the required license, here a gallery license to hold auctions on a regular basis at the location. Council recommends issuing a civil penalty of $1,000 for violation of Tennessee Code annotated section 62-19-102A1, which states it's unlawful for any person to act as or advertise or represent to be an auctioneer or firm without holding a valid license issued by the Commission. Council also recommends opening a complaint against the licensee who is conducting the auctions at respondent's location because his license is not associated with respondent's location per our records. So my recommendation is a $1,000 civil penalty against respondent and then opening an additional complaint against the licensee who conducted the auction at respondent's location.
Discussion.
I'll make the motion to go along with council's.
Commissioner Lowe moves we concur with council's recommendations. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Morris. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Passes. Number 5.
2018-001931. Complainant alleges respondent was performing a live auction on Facebook on January 4th, 2018, so she called our office to make sure he had a license before she purchased anything. Complainant verified respondent does not have an auctioneer license and provides screenshots of the complainant and alleges that the person in the picture is the respondent. And the screenshots are from a Facebook page which is called the name of the county, Tennessee, buy, sell, and trade anything low prices. They have a lot of Facebook pages like that. The respondent is standing next to a table with various items in the various screenshots, such as women's shoes, a screwdriver set, possible headlamps of some sort, and then there's a handwritten poster behind the respondent stating everything is sold, quote, as is, and the time and place where the items can be picked up if purchased. When complainant was asked directly if there were specified start and stop times enforced for bids on items and if the auction was online only or if there was a location available to bid on the items, complainant only stated she didn't see if there was a time that started and ended and was just a live online auction. Complainant has not been able to provide us with any more information about these allegations, any contact information for respondent, or any proof that he is not just simply holding a timed auction online in a way that he may be exempt from needing an auctioneer license per Tennessee Code annotated section 62-19-1039. Council ran a clear report attempting to obtain valid contact information in order to attempt to correspond with respondent by phone, email, or by mail to respondent. All emails council attempted to send to 3 different email addresses were undeliverable. None of the 4 phone numbers worked. It was either the wrong number, there was no answer, and we could not leave a voicemail, or it was disconnected. And no response has been received from respondent, as all mail has been returned to our office as undeliverable. Council recommends closing and flagging this complaint in case respondent tries to apply for a license, or if we get another complaint in the future about this.
Like you can't find the guy.
Absolutely not. I mean, I simply only have a picture of him.
Yeah.
And I did my best to try to assess an email.
Well, the
or
complainant was upset about doing it. I mean, it was just another
the
auctioneer.
complainant didn't even bid on anything, or just letting us know, hey, there's a guy out there, I think he needs a license. But
I move we accept your recommendation and close and flag that.
Morris moves we concur with council's recommendation. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Collier. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. Passes. Number 6.
2018-005-371. Complainant number 1 is a licensed apprentice auctioneer who alleges that respondent operates as an auction company, advertises themselves as such. They're not licensed auctioneers, nor do they have a gallery or firm license, accept consignments, charges a buyer's premium, and have extended bidding. Complainant provides a screenshot of respondent's website that does not refer to any of the allegations mentioned. Complainant number 2 is also a licensee who filed a similar complaint against the respondent the day after we received the first complaint from complainant number 1. And that second complaint alleges respondent, quote, uses the word auction and is operating without an auction license. The website does not list a principal auctioneer. There is no firm number listed, and their address is the same as a post office in Nashville, end quote, and does not provide any evidence. Respondent states that they are a 100% online auction that is featured on the World Wide Web through an auction software. Respondent allows people to pick up items won in a specific city in Tennessee, since respondent travels and can set up a temporary location for pickup. Further, respondent states they have no fixed location in Tennessee. The mailing address that they use is a P.O. box in a specific city in Tennessee mentioned by complainant number 2, and if it needs to be changed, then respondent will change it, but notes it is simply to receive mail. Respondent suggests their website be researched, which council did, and it shows respondent does not advertise themselves as auctioneers, but as an online auction company only. Respondent does not operate live auctions, video auctions, extended bid auctions, simulcast of live auctions, or anything that would require a license. Respondent states they do accept consignments, but mostly sell their own merchandise and don't know of any law prohibiting such. Respondent states the quote, buyer's premium is a fee to assist with operation of running a website. It's taxable and reported to the IRS on tax returns. Respondent is willing to correct anything necessary, but understands that thus far they have fallen under the exemption and Tennessee Code Annotated Section 62-19-1039. Council found no evidence that respondent does not fall under the exemption and therefore recommends dismissal.
Don't keep having these kind of cases every time. I move we accept your
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Morris, second by Commissioner Lowe to accept the dismissal. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Passes. Number 7.
2018-010711. Complainant alleges respondent sold complainant's merchandise at auction and paid complainant with 2 bad checks dated for June 10th and June 23rd, 2017. Complainant provides copies of the correspondence where he has tried to discuss this with respondent, as well as copies of the checks, and thus far respondent has not responded to complainant. Respondent was sent a copy of this complaint by certified and regular mail, as well as by email on February 20th, 2018, and again by email on March 23rd, 2018, and April 27th, 2018. The emails were delivered to the email respondent provided when he was licensed, but no response has been received to the mail or emails. Respondent's license expired on April 7th, 2017. Council recommends issuing a civil penalty of $1,000 for violation of Tennessee Code Annotated Section 62-19-102A1 for unlicensed activity, and Additionally, a $1,000 civil penalty for violation of Tennessee Code annotated Section 62-19-112B4 for failing to remit or account for money coming into the licensing's possession. So a total of a $2,000 civil penalty against respondent.
How long has that licensee been licensed before his license expired? From 13 to 17?
Yes,
So he renewed it once, and he
Every
has
time.
not renewed it again.
correct.
Why would you go through all that hassle of getting a license and then not respond and not renew and not even, say, hey, I got it, what did I do? Makes no sense.
I just can
But
only
no
imagine
answer.
he's
It's just
got
crickets,
nothing.
crickets from this guy, right?
Yeah, and I know the email was delivered because I used a
Right.
notification, and
Right.
I'll know if it's undeliverable. Mail was not sent back.
I concur with your recommendation.
I'm sure we'll get a response once I send him a consent order.
Yeah, you probably will. I move that we do that.
Morris moves we concur with council's recommendation, issue a $2,000 civil penalty. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Lowe. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. All in favor. Number 8.
2018-013-911. Complainant alleges respondent has no auction license but provides no further detail or documentation to support his allegations. His complaint literally said, quote, dude has no auction license, but he didn't give me anything else. Respondent immediately provided copies of their auction firm and auctioneer license, which are both active and in good standing, and provided a copy of their business tax license from the county clerk where the firm is located. Council finds no evidence that respondent has violated any rules or statutes and recommends dismissal.
Collier moves we concur and dismiss. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Lowe. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. 8 again.
Oh, number 9.
8A.
2018-014-001. Complainant remains anonymous and alleges respondent is running an auction under a different name than the name respondent's license is associated with in our database, but only provides an undated screenshot of what appears to be a Facebook page showing the name of a auction and vendor mall with respondent's gallery license number listed. Respondent states these allegations are completely false, and the name of respondent's gallery has always been the same as the name listed in our database assigned to the gallery license number. Respondent states they opened a vendor mall with 31 vendors in the same building under the name shown in the Facebook screenshot, but had to close the business due to medical reasons. Council found no evidence that respondent has violated any rules or statutes and recommends dismissal.
Basically just saying that they were operating under a different name, and when everything was looked up, it was the same name that's in their license.
Yes.
I move to go with council's recommendation.
Commissioner Lowe moves that we accept council's recommendation. Is there a second? Commissioner Collier. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. The ayes have it. Number 9. The real number 9.
2018-015-071. Complainant states she went to respondent's auction house one time about 3 years ago and simply registered for a bidder's number. Now complainant states she gets a voicemail and a call from respondent every Friday for the auction set for that day, and then the same on Saturday. Complainant notes this is, quote, not the end of the world, and has successfully blocked respondent from her phone, and states they honored her request to stop texting, but she is still getting voicemails on her cell phone where she is unable to stop the calls for whatever reason. Respondent promptly responded to this complaint and stated they apologize for any inconvenience to the complainant and confirms the complainant's contact information and all phone numbers have been completely deleted from their call list as of March 27, 2018. Respondent states if complainant has any issues with this in the future, respondent will be happy to assist and provides direct contact information for complainant, which was sent to complainant. Council found no evidence that respondent has violated any rules or statutes and recommends dismissal.
Problem solved.
I believe so.
I move we accept your.
Second.
Commissioner Morris moves we concur, second by Commissioner Lowe. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Approved. Number 10.
2018-015431. Complainant states he went to respondent's auction on March 2nd, 2018 and purchased 2 cars for his family. Complainant admits respondent's owner stated before the auction began that there were no warranties on any vehicles being auctioned that day, but complainant also alleges he guaranteed the cars would be running and driving. Complainant states he even spoke to respondent's owner and let him know complainant is on disability and cannot afford to buy cars that will have to be repaired or have any issues, and states respondent's owner assured him that the cars were, quote, solid vehicles. Complainant states one of the car's transmissions failed on the way out of the auction, and the other car had no brakes, and parts were hanging off the steering wheel, causing complainant to go into a ditch. When complainant contacted respondent's owner about these issues, respondent's owner allegedly said he would speak with the car's previous owners and work it out with complainant. Respondent states that they did not conduct any part of this auction complainant references. Respondent states the auction was conducted by another licensed auctioneer and his firm and provides the auctioneer and firm license numbers. Respondent states that their firm address was still showing as this other auctioneer's firm address because the other firm has been conducting auctions at respondent's address for a few months. Respondent states he has been getting his forms completed and his new location set up and is sending the updated address information to licensing immediately, which respondent has since done, and everything has been changed in our system. I've checked that. Another complaint was opened against the auctioneer respondent states actually conducted the auction, and that is going to be presented next below. Here, counsel found no evidence that respondent has violated any rules or statutes and recommends dismissal. I don't feel this respondent is the one responsible.
Yeah, but he was letting this other guy conduct auctions at his place?
From what I can tell, the respondent was not even at that location anymore. When the complainant sent in the complaint, I think the complainant gave us the only information they could find on our website. And then it's been since updated. And the 2 respondents that I believe are responsible are going to be presented to you next.
Well, the first guy was doing an auction at this location. He left, and
He used to
the
be.
other guy came in and started doing the auction. So this had taken place before the new guy had taken over, correct?
Yes.
Motion's been made to accept council's recommendation and dismiss. Or second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Morris. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Number 11.
2018-017271. Complainant and the complaint is the same as the complaint above. Respondent states complainant bought the cars from the owner of the location where the auction was held, not from respondent. Respondent further states that he was conducting an auction for this location that day and did meet with complainant and the location's owner about complainant possibly purchasing cars. But respondent reminded the location's owner that he did not have a license to auction cars, and therefore respondent would not participate in the sale of any cars by auction to complainant or to anyone at any time. And just to make this clear, because it is a little bit confusing, the respondent in the prior complaint that we just went over is not the location's owner that I'm referring to here. This location's owner is the new person that came in. So
This is,
there's the
is
two
this
people here.
respondent the guy that did the auction or not?
This respondent is the person that was conducting auctions that day, but he says he absolutely did not auction any cars off. So basically what I'm going to get to is the location's owner went to the side and sold this guy these cars separately.
Location owner? Who was not an auctioneer?
Right,
But he sold them to him without an auction.
right.
He just said, here, buy these cars, they're good cars, and
Yes. And so I'm going to be recommending.
just paraphrase the whole thing.
So the respondent here definitely conducted auctions. He's licensed. He stated that the complainant and the location's owner who hired him to come do the auction that day said, I want to sell this complainant some cars. Will you auction them off? And he said, absolutely not. We don't have the proper licensure to auction cars. So he saw the ticket clerk and the the location owner take the complainant over to the side and then out of his view, and then he heard through the grapevine that the complainant bought the cars, got in a wreck. The complainant was driving one of the cars, his wife was driving another one. Then the complainant and his wife came back with the cars. Maybe one was left in the ditch, actually, but they came back with one of them, and of course, wanted to talk to the location owner about these issues, about selling the cars.
This was a private treaty, it was not an auction. Did they buy them at auction or did they buy them they just negotiated a deal with this guy?
Yeah, like to the side, because the auctioneer wouldn't do it.
We don't have any jurisdiction over that guy.
So my recommendation was to open a complaint against the location owner for unlicensed activity.
But he didn't have an auction.
He just took him.
If he just goes over to the side and makes a deal, I mean,
Okay.
that's we don't have any jurisdiction over
And
that
that's
guy.
the only evidence, that I have.
Well, we just got to dismiss it and go, caveat emptor,
Or we could refer it to the Motor Vehicle Commission. Okay.
Private sale, he just sells them 2 vehicles. If he was doing it every day, selling 15 or 20, I would say, yeah.
Yeah, the
Freight cars
respondent.
here, but give me $2,000 and they're yours. And so, no, we don't have any jurisdiction. We got to dismiss that.
So, and my recommendation was to dismiss it against the licensed auctioneer, the respondent here, because
I
he
so
said
moved-
no.
I so moved that we do that.
And then, we will not open a complaint against the
No,
location
we don't
owner.
need, we don't have any jurisdiction
Okay.
over that guy.
Commissioner Morris moves that we dismiss, or second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Collier. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Approved. Number 12.
2017-063-411. So this was presented to you, I believe, at the last auction commission meeting, and I was asked to obtain a copy of the contract, which I did.
Right.
So I have a copy of the contract that was signed, if you go to the second paragraph,
Right.
June 26, 2017, I have a copy of that contract. States the buyer's premium is 10%. It has the date, the seller's name, the address, signatures. And then I also have a release that was signed on October 21st, 2017, where respondent agrees to release the complainant from their sales contract that was signed on June 26th. So I didn't know if you had more questions, but I have them in front of me if you wanted to talk about it any further.
That was the whole deal. We asked, did they have a contract
I didn't
that
know.
outlined what the deal was? Did the auctioneer live up to his deal under that terms of that contract?
Yes.
Well, if he did, then he did.
So I think my recommendation was to dismiss,
Okay.
and I didn't change that after seeing it.
So in the contract, it states that the seller will be paying advertising costs.
I can read you the terms.
Sure.
Okay.
I'd like to hear.
Respondent will supply all labor at their discretion. All labor will be paid 50% by respondent and 50% by seller. All payout are at auctioneer's discretion. All checks must be held in escrow account until cleared. Auction or auctions will be conducted as auctioneer deems appropriate and in his opinion in the seller's best interest. All advertising will be paid, looks like NA by respondent and NA by appropriate in his opinion, or I'm sorry, NA by seller. Respondent is not responsible for any auction obligations before the signing of the sales contract or after the date of closing. Respondent is liable only for authorized auction expenses created the auction in this particular contract and only for the duration of this contract. Cancellation of the particular contract, cancellation of the auction by the seller at the time of said cancellation, seller will incur all expenses and labor of said auction as of cancellation date. I certify that I am the owner of the above listed items, have good title and the right to sell them. I certify the items listed are free from all encumbrances. I agree to accept all responsibility for providing good title and for delivery of title to the purchaser. It is agreed that the consignee is not responsible for the loss of any item due to fire, theft, damage, etc. I understand that to 10% commission will be deducted from the gross sale of my items. No bid items will be disposed of at the discretion of the auctioneer auction house. Payment will be made to the consignor within 7 days from the date of sale.
So, under the terms of that contract, did the auctioneer perform as he should have?
I believe so, but there's no itemized list of anything that was going to be sold.
What does it say as being, what is being consigned?
It just has kind of an empty spreadsheet.
Empty spreadsheet?
Yes.
So there's no list of items?
No.
There's no thing that says all personal property located at this location, or various and sundry properties, or anything?
No, it does not. It doesn't list any specific property.
It's not a contract to sell anything.
I mean, even a vague description, say a pallet of something or a
Exactly. You gotta have-
truckload of something or anything would have.
Got to refer to something being sold somewhere in that agreement.
And supposedly there was a lot of items taken, 400 Barbies.
No items listed, so there really is no contract. Did this, has
Empty
it got the
contract.
seller's name on there?
Yes.
And
At least
And
that
sig-
jives.
and the
So
complainant.
signature, so,
it's got her name or his name and a signature.
yes.
And they agreed to that contract, but we don't know what they agreed to sell.
Right.
So what is the complaint, what is the complainant complaining about? In simple terms, without getting all into the 400 Barbies and all that kind of stuff.
That respondent has refused to give an inventory list,
Okay,
which we don't have.
right.
That, but in respondent's kind of counter complaint to that is, I've been holding your stuff and paying to store your stuff for probably, I think, over a year now. And the complainant won't come get it. And then I don't know if that's
Why
why.
didn't he sell it?
Excuse me?
Why didn't he sell it?
I think he sold everything he could. And the things that were left over, he's just been holding and paying for storage on, because complainant won't come get it. And I guess complainant's argument is, well, you won't provide me with a list. And then I get a release.
So the contract doesn't state anything, but the release does say all personal property.
Okay, so it does say all property from somebody.
Release,
Okay,
yes.
had to refer to something.
That's what the release states. It
Okay.
does not in the contract.
All right. So she says, or he, or whatever, that I'm looking for a list of what I've got. He won't give me a list. He sold some of the stuff, but hadn't gotten my money. Or is he paid her, or him, her, or whatever?
I don't think money is an issue here.
Just a list of what's left?
Yes, and wanting to know, I think he's just, to me, it seems the complainant is upset that everything wasn't able to be sold at the prices he thought it should be sold for. These priceless Barbies
I
and
mean,
his.
that's the risk you take,
Right.
at auction. I mean, that's every
respondent is
every
like,
seller
I've been
bitches about how
paying-
much stuff brings. I mean,
Right. The respondent's like, I've been paying to store your stuff. I think it's seriously for over a year. And, you need to come get it. Maybe the respondent's like, I'll give you a list of everything when you come get it. But then I get this release that basically says that everyone's
is there a
satisfied.
violation of any law or rule?
Other than not listing the inventory in the contract, if that is a violation.
There's no law
I
that
don't
says
think
you have
there
to list
is.
all the items.
Right.
You have to have a contract.
I mean, the complainant signed the contract, so that's
Okay.
where I would have a
Well.
problem proving a
I need to
violation.
dismiss it myself, and I recommend we do that.
I haven't heard anything else about this, just that it's been resolved.
Commissioner Morris moves we dismiss. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Lowe. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed, no. Passes. I believe that's it.
That's it on my end.
All right, legislative updates.
That's me. And so, just so you all know, we're kind of going to be going back to the old way we used to do the legal report. I think this is Erica's last meeting with you all. I will be doing
I
the
don't have any
review of
more.
all the complaints and presenting them. So I'll be your only attorney from here on out.
Okay.
So there won't
We
be
can live with that.
there won't be three of us coming in and out.
Well, Erica, we've enjoyed working with you.
Thank you. I have as well.
So as for legislative updates, we have the sunset bill that passed. Jeff came and presented on behalf of answered any questions that the legislature may have had, and we were extended for an additional 6 years
6 years, I will, yeah.
to June 30th, 2024. So Jeff can answer any questions that you all may have, but he got to go up and sit in front of the Government Operations Committee, and
It was pretty cut and dried. They're just looking at every one of these boards. Again, they're looking for, as we've talked about, they're looking for relevancy, and also looking at fees that we're charging and whether they're too high, too low, whatever. Looking at reserve funds, which we've talked about. You know, we're so small we kind of fall under the radar, but other boards don't, like real estate. And different.
the Real Estate Commission kind of was the heavy cloud in the room. They made the rest of us kind of skate through.
Yeah, exactly. But that also has to do with the number of licensees and number of activity and that sort of thing. So we did get approved for another 6 years, so your representative won't be able to get rid of us unless he comes back to the next legislature session and puts in a special law to get rid of us.
Good deal.
So with that being said, I could see if our Education Recovery Fund keeps continuing to grow, that possibly at the next, when we come up in 6 years from now, they'll want us to look at the fees that are going into that and reducing those fees. I know at this time, we kind of, like I said, we went under the radar. The Real Estate Commission has $4 million in their recovery fund, and it's never had a claim against it. So with us, I think we only had, do we have $1 million?
Oh, it's I don't have it before me, but it's nowhere near that. I shudder to give you any figures, and we'll put that on we'll put that on the budget next round, so you can just take a look at it again. I think that's always good to do. I typically do that at the beginning of the year, so you can
Right.
see the fiscal year. But periodically, since we're having this discussion, we'll pull it up and look at it. Yeah, but I agree with council. Probably the best way to do that would be whatever part of the fees that are allocated towards that, since we're not getting the claims on that fund that we were looking for, then just reduce what goes into it, through license. That's probably how they would do that. That's the quickest, most direct route to that path. But again, we'll have to continue.
I don't think any auctioneer would complain about paying less to renew, so.
Yeah. Well, and if they're making changes, ours is pretty similar to the way the Real Estate Education and Recovery Fund is set up. So I don't see them making changes to their statutes without looking at ours and making some kind of changes to make it easier for someone to make a claim against that account. I mean, that's what it's there for. So other than that, there was another bill that passed. It was called the Fresh Start Act. And essentially what the Fresh Start Act says is that we can't deny someone from coming into the profession unless if they commit any felony. We don't do that with auctioneers. We kind of look to see if it goes to the profession. We don't have a lot of denials for your profession. We tend to look at them if they have money laundering or something to that nature that would affect the actual profession. But if that denial were to happen, from our perspective, it would come to you all first, and there's a set of factors that they want you to review before you would deny that license. So we don't have a lot, so I don't think that it'll really affect the Auctioneer Commission.
We've had a few people come before the board that had some, infractions in their past, and we've granted them license, so I don't think we have a problem with that.
Yeah. And Glenn, his team usually does a really good, thorough review of what their background has, and if it's, a drug crime from 20 years ago, we're not going to stop them from getting a license. So that's kind of what this said is, a lot of there's other commissions that simply say if you have a felony that they deny you and then you have to go before the commission, and that's kind of what they're trying to stop is they want to bring people into professions. So that's what this act does. I can send you all a copy of that if you'd like to read it. The last one, and this is the next item on our agenda, is the task force. This one is on your iPads. This is the bill that passed directly related to auctioneers this year. And this is the amendment for House Bill 2036 by Representative Faison. And this is what's creating the task force. And so it's essentially going to be a group of people that are going through and looking at the auctioneer statutes and rules on what needs to be changed. It will most likely specifically really hit on online auctions. If you notice the people that are going to be on the auctioneer task force, it's going to be it's going to be led by Carter Lawrence, our assistant commissioner. He's going to be the designee that's going to lead the meetings. But the president of TAA will be on there, an additional member of TAA, as voted on by the association. They want one online auctioneer with in-state operations. This will be appointed by the Speaker of the Senate. And one online auctioneer with global operations, again appointed by the Speaker. There's going to be one online auto auctioneer appointed by the Speaker of the House of Representatives, and then one representative from a licensed Tennessee auction school appointed by the Speaker of the House. There will be one member of the Tennessee Auction Commission, and so that's what we will need you all to vote on today, is designating one of you to serve. There will be at least 4 meetings between June 1st and December 31st. Commissioner Lawrence will set up that first meeting. It has to be set up within 90 days of this bill passing. So I would say that's going to be fairly quick because I don't recall off the top of my head when it was signed, so I'll have to look that up. But they've also asked that this task force include a member of the Real Estate Commission and a representative from the Tennessee County Services Association, 2 representatives from the Tennessee Automobile Association, and 1 consumer to represent the public. So with all of that being said, there is a copy of this on your iPads. This was emailed to you all so that you have it for if you would like to read it. There's not really much more than what I just said. But with that being said, we'd appreciate you all designating one of your members to be on this committee.
I recommend Jeff to be the one to do it.
Second.
Motion's been made, properly second, to recommend Jeff Morris. Do you have any objection, Jeff?
I don't. I'm honored to be representing the commission.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. We know you'll do a great job.
Thank you.
We'll pass your name along in your email, so I assume it will come from Carter's assistant, Madeline, so just be on the lookout.
New business?
Yes, sir. We did have one item that came in. I sent you some documents out, obviously, and then right after that, we had the South Carolina Southeastern School of Auctioneering from South Carolina. Their new executive director reached out to me and said that they had one of their, students who just recently graduated from their 80-hour school and was relocating to Tennessee and wanted to sit to test, and then wanted that 80-hour school like ours to count towards qualifying education. So I pulled up the school, and we do accept them as continuing education, but they weren't formally recognized for qualifying education to sit to test. And so I provided some information. If you look on your website, this on your the iPad, this will be the first time you've seen this. Wasn't able to get that out to you until after the docs went out initially. But,
how long have they been in business, Joanne?
82, I think. If you go to the second, or let's see, 82 is the third page. It gives a little bit of snapshot of the history.
I got you.
Mm-hmm. And if we'll start on the first page, I'll kind of walk you through what I was able to gather from this school. If you'll notice, they're accredited by South Carolina Auctioneering Commission, so they do have a commission that governs their industry, much like ours. And also, they're also a reciprocal state, so we accept their licensee is back and forth. There's a reciprocal agreement between the two, a relationship that exists. So we work with them in that regard. We do accept their school for continuing education, some of their courses as well. So we've looked at some of their courses and deemed them, this board has, to be sufficient for continuing education. They're recognized in North Carolina, recognized in Louisiana and Georgia. There's a little snapshot there of where they came from, how they got their start. Their founding member, was served on the South Carolina Auctioneer Commission as well. And then basically at the very end of that, you'll see what the South Carolina Commission looks at when accepting a school and accrediting a school. And they offer an 80-hour course, and then it gives you a breakdown of what that looks like. So, not knowing the history or the context, we want to make sure that the commission would recognize their qualifying education, allow that applicant who's coming here to test.
I'll make a motion that we accept them.
So that would be the motion to accept Southeastern, maybe get it right, School of Auctioneering as qualifying education, their 80-hour course then.
Right.
Thank you, sir.
There's a second to that.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Morris. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. Approved. Any more new business?
Just one thing I wanted to revisit. When we were discussing the NAA's conference, I wrote the justification memo for that, and I do recall that Ms. Matthews attended that, especially the the NAOLA portion, which is the basically the legal arm of NAA, the policy making piece when it comes to the legal piece of that. And so I didn't offer that bit of information. So if the commission would like to consider her attendance to that as well, you can send two. So if that's something the commission would like to entertain, we could do that as well.
Move that we do that.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Lowe. Any further discussion on it? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. You're headed to Florida.
All I've got.
All right. Anybody
Nice
else?
to have an attorney that's well vested in our board, so I like that portion of it.
Any further new business?
Yeah, what's the status on the newsletter?
It's been awarded to Nashville Auction School, and so they've complied with all the questions that we asked of them to be awarded the RFP. So they've been formally recognized and awarded, and now at this point we're just we'll be waiting on their submission so we can make sure it complies with.
Have any kind of a deadline with them?
Yeah, we do. They're supposed to provide 2 a year, and then the one the first one should be due. I believe, and I don't have it in front of me, the RFP, but it's going to come twice. It's one I believe in December, and then one at the very end of the fiscal year as well. I think the fiscal year is like June or July or something like that. So we timed it where it can hit, at one to kind of bring us into the new year. To kind of recap the end of the year, and then one mid-year, but also into the fiscal cycle, which we thought was timed just right. So in case there's any fiscal issues, they can address that in the newsletter.
Anything else? Entertain a motion, we adjourn.
I make the motion to adjourn.
Ronnie moves.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Lowe. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. We are dismissed.
There you go, John. Thank you. Good meeting, guys.